Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello and welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast, the only podcast of Uriah Heep's music endorsed by Uriah Heep. Well, who else would have I asked to do it? King Crimson? That wouldn't make any sense. We got a great show for you guys today, but you know, it's Monday and we have some people to thank before we get into things. First of all, thanks to BMG for this awesome upcoming box set of Uriah Heep's first 7 albums, 7 picture discs, 7 t-shirts, a wall calendar, lyrical phrases, all kinds of cool things headed your way. You can go to the website and either Uriah Heep's website or my website and click on the Uriah Heep link, and there is a picture of it all laid out. Those are albums, not CDs. Actual, I don't know. Can you call them vinyl picture discs? Aren't picture discs plastic? I don't know. But either way, they're LPs. They can be played on a record player and they look stunning. Absolutely stunning. So I'm really excited about this. The only thing I'm not happy about is that I have to wait until September 21st for it to come out. That's the only part of this that sucks, is that it's so far away because it's only July. But it is going to come out, and I'm very excited about it. And you know, if you guys want to help get Uriah Heep into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Ohio, we have an avenue for you to do that. Sign the petition at facebook.com/HeepRockHall. And you can click that link in the show notes and go right to it. Sign up, get your name on that little thing, and let's get the band into the Hall of Fame where they should be. They are in the Heavy Metal Hall of Fame, but not the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You know, let's fix that. So thank you guys, those of you who have signed that petition already, and those of you who are about to go do it right now. Or if you're driving, don't do it right now. Do it when you get to work. You know, punch in, and while your coffee's cooling down to where you can drink it, take a couple seconds and go sign that petition. Now, there are some wonderful people that have contributed to this show. It really means a lot to me. My patrons, who are very generously giving me money out of their pocket, their hard-earned money every month to be a part of the show and to help me out with the expenses. At the $5 Easy Living tier, we have Kenny Wymore and Brad D. At the $3 The Wizard tier, we've got Peter Voss, Goran Eriksson, Frank Thielgaard Mortensen, and William Rose. And at the $1 Traveler in Time tier, we have the encapsulated airtight gravesite. Thank you all very much. It means just mountains to me that this show means that much to you guys, that you would take the time and effort to do that. I mean, you could spend that money on candy and records and you choose to give it to the show. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. I also want to thank everybody who has left comments on Podbean and iTunes / Apple Music, and everybody who's left reviews, ratings, etc. Really means a lot to me. That helps the show get out there, guys. And I want to thank everybody who shared the post, whether it's the, post from the official Uriah Heep site that Dave White puts out, the, any of the groups or places where I post under the Uriah Heep podcast sites, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and then the website. Thank you guys for sharing all that. You know, the more we share, the more that people can enjoy this beautiful music of the band Uriah Heep. And that is what we're all about here. That's why we're doing this, right? Well, that's why I'm doing it, because I could be doing other things too, but I want to share this music. It's awesome. Thank you, of course, to Dave White for doing all that sharing, the wonderful director of social media for Uriah Heep, who works really hard on the website and all that, does a great job. Thank you, Dave. My graphic artist, Scott Lazinski, who did the artwork for the show, very wonderful. Every time I see it, I just smile. And my friends at Audionamics, who have developed the product, IDC, Instant Dialogue Cleaner. I absolutely love it and will not do a podcast without it. In fact, since they gave me the demo version of it, and that has to be like 2 years ago, three and a half years ago, maybe 3.5 years ago. I have not done a podcast without using that. I just can't do it. It makes my life so much easier. And of course, we have our friends at the Deep Dive Podcast Network, At the Deep Purple Podcast, we have Nate and John. Then there's the Simple Man at Skinnerd Reconsidered. We have Terry T-Bone Mathley at T-Bone's Prime Cuts on the other side. Rye at Sabbath Bloody Podcast. Paul, Joe, and David at In the Lap of the Pods. Andy and Matt at Hawk Binge. And Eric and Jonathan at Maiden A to Z Pod. And of course, can't forget my buddy Brandon over at Metallicast. And if you guys haven't checked it out lately, go to gottahear'emall.com, where you can get wonderful information about the band lives of Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Deep Purple, and a whole host of other tidbits. Just amazing stuff that goes on that site. And then take a moment to go check out Ace on Music. You can find it at Stitcher and YouTube. It is Ace's podcast, Uriah Heep's manager. A great show with a lot of insight into the music industry, a lot of questions about what's going to happen next, how all this is going to work out now that bands are already started to tour. The Dead Daisies are already out there. Of course, you couldn't hold them back with a brick wall. Those guys, as soon as they could get out there, I knew they'd be out there doing it. And lots of cool stuff on his show. So go and check that out. You can follow the show at scotthaskett.com/Uriah Heep podcast, or just click the link on the show notes there. On Facebook, you can go to facebook.com/Uriah Heep podcast. On Twitter, we're at Heep Podcast. Instagram at Uriah Heep Podcast. And there is all the cool places you can follow us. If you want to be involved in the monthly contest, you want to be a part of that drawing, go back to that Uriah Heep website link on my site, scotthaskett.com. Go down to the bottom and sign up for the email address. You just put your name in there, you're on the list. And if you are a patron, you get 2 more entries just for being a patron. So pretty cool stuff. Now, our song today is another one that we haven't listened to yet, of course, and it is called Out on the Street. And there is an interesting credit. Gerry Bron himself is credited as playing timpani on this song. So we'll have to keep an ear out for that. It's funny. Everybody wants percussion credits because they think it's the easiest instrument to play. And then so many people will pick up an instrument like a shaker and they'll start shaking it and they'll be like, I don't know what I'm doing. It's so funny to me because percussion instruments, for the most part, they seem very simple, but to really get them to sound good, a lot of them, you got to really know what you're doing. I'm really, after, 10 years or so of working with shakers, I just now feel like I'm getting at the point where I'm pretty decent at it. I mean, I play them on my own songs, but it's a lot of work. It's finding that rhythm. It's finding the right way to shake it, where to apply the accents and all that to really get it to work, but to get it to flow at the same time. But let's see how Gerry Bron does on timpani while we listen to this wonderful song off of Conquest by Uriah Heep. Here we are with Out on the Street. Well, I hope that wasn't all there is, because that was not a lot of timpani so far, but it does sound really cool. It's blended really nicely in. It's not, something that distracts you too much, but definitely something that you notice. Love the guitars here, what they're doing. I was trying to think of the song that it reminds me of, and it's a completely different song, but the opening of Gods of Wrath just has that same sort of feel to it, that individual, note picking. But I love the feel of it. I think the guitars are playing something that's very interesting, very unique here. And the overall atmosphere of the song is just kind of, it feels like I'm at night, kind of alone. Maybe I feel like there's somebody there watching me. I'm not sure exactly what I feel, but I feel something, and I like that. I like when music right off the bat makes me feel something. It puts me in a certain mood, even if I can't explain it.
Out on the street, dead on my feet, at the mercy of the stone cold night. It's hard to compete in a dead end street with frustration in your line of sight. Do you ever stop to think, or do
There are some subtle timpani hits I hear in spots with the drums. They're very much buried underneath the drums. It's almost like you hear the hit of the drum, but the tail of the timpani. And that's actually pretty cool. I really like that. It's really just more layered in than anything else. Really like the vocals here. They're very intriguing, and I love what the guitars are doing in the background. Just that pitch that they're finding, really nice atmosphere. And I forgot to mention in the beginning, really like the vocalizing that we were hearing there from John Sloman. Very lovely. The drums are nice. I love that Chris Slade has a little bit more melodic of a kit. You know, when you just have a 5-piece kit, you've only got 3 toms, the 2 on the bass drum and then the 1 on the floor. So there's only so much that you can do melodically because you only have so much of a range of sound. But if you have more toms, the way that I like to set up my kit, I like to have more toms because I like to play more melodically and be able to throw in things that are, you know, not just low end drums. So I really like that about his style too, not just that he has them, but that he actually utilizes them. And I think it really adds a lot to a piece of music.
You have the time to feel, and if you do you know the feelings?
Yeah, that kind of vocalizing is what I'm talking about. I really love that. He almost sounds like a ghost, like he's haunted, just because there's just those really weird shifts that he does, and the way that he puts in the swells and the vocals definitely adds so much to it, I think. But I really like that he's gentle about it. You know, he's not putting a lot of power into it. He's almost, you know, just slightly above a whisper. And I think that's really intriguing.
Follow the sign, the point is away, and I find myself right back at that start. I like to feel good, I try feeling sad, but I can't stand the broken heart. Don't wanna wait till my dying day. Do you realize I guess I'm lucky in this kind of way, 'cause it's real before my eyes.
For the most part, I really like the mix of this song. I think in that last section, the drums were a little bit too loud, in contrast to the guitars. And also, I'm not really hearing any hi-hat or ride cymbal. It's so buried that it didn't really come out until this section as they're going into the heavier part. So obviously that was intentional, but you know, you gotta hear a little bit of it in there. And I'm hearing almost none. So that kind of throws me off because it really feels like he's just sitting there with a bass and a snare drum and just hitting them during those parts where there's no fills, because it's just so faint. So I would have liked a little bit more, at least make it somewhat audible. And you could always kick it up a notch when you're going into a heavy part or into a pre-chorus or a chorus. So obviously we're heading into rougher waters. So let's see where it goes. Wow. Well, what was I just saying about percussion instruments and people that really need to understand that they're not that easy to play? that was some very fast tambourine work there in going into that part. I really like that. That sounded good. It was a nice addition. We don't hear a lot of tambourine with Uriah Heep. Really love that sort of scream that John Sloman did. Although, it's weird because I feel like it sounds falsetto, but it doesn't feel falsetto. It's really weird. I can't exactly figure out where his range lies or where his strengths lie. But it sounds good overall. I just can't figure that part out. But great soloing. I really love the exchange between the synth and the guitar. Unfortunately, I think the mix is a little bit unbalanced here. I think the synth is a little bit too loud for the song and kind of overshadows the guitar a little bit in parts. I also think the guitar is just a little bit too quiet for a solo section. I think just a smidge louder it could have been. But I love the interplay between the two instruments. We haven't really heard a lot of that in a while, so it's really nice to revisit that kind of thing. I love those trade-offs. They can be so much fun, and I think they did a great job on this one.
A gray cloud, they say, I did surprise, but it rained until I lost my belief. Just close your eyes, we'll show you the way, but I believe I've lost my faith. One man speaks and one man dies, while another
One thing I've noticed about Chris Slade's playing on slower songs is that if there's going to be a fill, sometimes he'll stop a beat or two early and leave a little bit of room and then come back in with that fill. Sometimes he just goes for it. And there are a couple of parts that I feel are a little bit overplayed for the speed of the song when it comes to the drums. But, I'm a drummer, so I'm probably going to be a little bit pickier about that. But I love what the guitars are doing. I love that synth that Ken is using for the transitions, that particular patch. And I think it just sounds really good. I love those. I call them like little electronic bubbly synths because they just feel like, bubbles are coming to the surface and dispersing. But it adds a really warm tone to it, and it makes for a really nice transition. He's not overplaying synthesizers at all in this song, using them very subtly just for color. And, of course, we got that wonderful guitar sound going on in the background. I just love the feel of this song. It's so moody,
Who speaks the chosen?
Well, as much as I love that kind of vocalizing, I have to say that was a little too much at the end. I mean, it's not going anywhere. You're just kind of just going off, but it almost feels like, okay, what can I do next instead of what am I feeling? And that's probably wrong. I mean, he probably was feeling something, but just as I'm a listener, I'm like, okay, this was cool. I get it. It was a nice part, but you got to do something different here because it's kind of a long, part at the end. We're talking over a minute where it repeats. So, to have thrown in a few words here and there, like I'm out on the street or just something to kind of break that up a little bit would have been nice. But, just my taste, my thoughts. Overall, I still love the mood of the song, though, to the very end. I think it just has such an intriguing mood. And I think that they played it very well. I love what the guitars do through the song. Didn't really talk about the bass much, to be honest, but it really blended in well. But there were some parts that it just sounded so hard-edged. When he really was popping the strings, especially going into that solo section there. It's really buried in the mix, to be honest, but you could pick it out here and there what he's doing. And he's actually very active on this song, Trevor Boulder is. And it sounds good. I really like the hard edge sound on his bass, though, when he plays. That really worked for me. But a great song nonetheless. I think a great way to kick off our week. For the 4 episodes that we do each and every week here on Uriah Heep, the Magicians Podcast. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I look forward to covering another song as we're making our way through the Conquest album. And then, of course, come the next album, we've got Changes Again. And, it's a whole new band once again. So let's enjoy every song that they put out on this album as we make our way through. Have a great day, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Cheers. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magicians Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show. And thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!